Hey guys, so for today we have another video in my history, major flaws, and why it got cancelled series, and that's going to be on the Chrysler Crossfire. If you're new to these types of videos, the first part focuses on looking back at the history of the car and all the details and specs, and then we jump to talking about the events that led to the car being cancelled and any flaws that it had. I've already done many Mopars like the Dodge Avenger, Dart, Caliber, Magnum, Neon, Nitro, Chrysler 200, and Chrysler Aspen, and many more are coming in the future. So let's get started for the Crossfire. This car lived through 5 model years, 2004 to 2008, before being cancelled. So we begin back in 2001. That's where the world first saw the Crossfire name when the Chrysler Crossfire concept car was unveiled at the 2001 North American International Auto Show. The production version was brought out a year later to the 2002 LA Auto Show in anticipation of the 2004 model year launch. So production began in 2003 for that 2004 model year of the car, and the first Crossfire came off the assembly line on February 3rd of 2003. The car was designed and developed by Chrysler Group's USA-based Advanced Vehicle Engineering team, but it was built in Germany in collaboration with Karmann, who was the largest independent motor vehicle manufacturing company in Germany before their 2009 bankruptcy. Senior Vice President of Design Trevor Creed said, quote, "Chrysler Crossfire's expressive statement is tangible proof of our capability to elevate and broaden the appeal of the Chrysler brand. It blends proven world-class German technology with passionate modern American design." End quote. The Crossfire was a rear-wheel drive two-seater in both convertible and coupe fashion that was intended to be a car that built up the image of the Chrysler brand, or even a possible halo car for the brand. Daimler Chrysler wanted the car to have a lasting impression on customers due to looks. The car shares much of its DNA with Mercedes, as do several cars from the Daimler Chrysler era, and the Crossfire actually shares over 70% of its components with the first-gen Mercedes-Benz SLK, which had models from 1996 to 2004. That first gen was built on the R170 platform, while the second gen starting in 2005 was upgraded to the R71 platform. So essentially Daimler gave Chrysler their old R170 platform as a hand-me-down for the Crossfire. Chrysler was responsible for the interior and exterior styling, but almost all the components, such as wheelbase, track, engine, engine bay, transmission, chassis, and suspension, are shared with the R170 platform. And some parts on the Crossfire are actually identical to the Mercedes-Benz SLK 320, including the same engine bay, seats, dashboard, and interior controls, which could basically be swapped between the two cars. As for the Crossfire name, it had a dual meaning. The first referred to the fact that this was the first car to be built after the merger between Chrysler and Daimler-Benz, and that it shares parts from both companies. And the second referred to body lines that run from the front to the rear on the side of the body, and they intersect through the door. I don't really see that myself, but that's apparently what Chrysler designers have said. For the first year in 2004, the Crossfire had just one model, a base coupe. In 2005, Chrysler unveiled a convertible and a high-performance model, the supercharged SRT6. By 2006, the models offered were split between the coupe and convertible, with each getting a base model, limited version, and SRT6 trim at the top. That SRT6 model was available for just 2005 and 2006, but it was actually special order only for 2006. For the last model year in 2008, the models had dwindled down to just the limited in either coupe or convertible, and there were also various right-hand drive models in the UK. Prices were expensive, starting around $29,000 for a base coupe in 2006, and rising up to $45,000 for a coupe SRT6. And if you wanted a convertible, prices were about $5,000 higher, so $34,000 for a base model and almost $50,000 for the SRT6 version. As for the exterior design, the Crossfire has a unique elegance to it. It has somewhat retro styling, blending many lines together, but it does still look like a Chrysler. The car has a silver grille similar to the Chrysler 300, with the winged logo right above it. The headlights are small but sculpted nicely, fitting in 2 circular lights on either side. The hood is long and has 6 grooves running through it. There's also a subtle central spine that runs from the front bumper all the way through the middle of the car to the rear bumper. The roofline and pillars slope down very fast and lead to the distinctive boat tail rear end, where you can find the twin exhaust tips in the center. There's also a large rear retractable spoiler that really complements the look in my opinion. This spoiler will activate when the car hits 62 miles per hour or about 100 kilometers an hour, generating downforce and increasing the tire grip and vehicle stability. It will automatically retract when your speed drops below 40 miles per hour, but there's a switch on the center console to activate it at any time. All the doors have a frameless glass design to maximize the open air feeling when driving with the windows down, and all the glass comes tinted standard. Along with the 2 Chrysler wing badges front and back, you can find Crossfire lettering under the rear spoiler, as well as satin silver finish on the grille, door handles, and side louver ribs. And as for those side louver things, they do spice up the side profile, but they are fake and do nothing, so they do seem cheesy to me, and I feel like they could have been replaced by something better. Roadster looks slightly more traditional than the coupe, and the design works well with the top up or down. Behind the seats there's a body colored panel and raised humps that you'd find on other convertibles. Trevor Creed was very happy with the Roadster, saying, quote, "Sometimes when you cut off the roof of a car to create a convertible, the end result isn't what you'd expect. In the case of Crossfire Roadster, that's not true. It's just as handsome, if not more dashing than the coupe." End quote. The Crossfire interior combines a sporty and elegance look as well. Depending on the exterior paint finish, there are 5 various interior color options. There's also that same central spine that runs through the middle of the headliner to match the one on the outside, and the satin silver transmission tunnel in the middle divides both sides of the car, so it has a twin cockpit theme. Satin silver is also found on the steering wheel, spokes, door sills, handles, speakers, and several other areas. The 2-tone leather trim seats are heated and have 8-way passenger adjustment, and many describe the seats as firm, comfortable, and supportive, and they have a low seating position similar to the Mercedes SLK Roadster. The driver sees 3 circular panels with 4 analog gauges, the speedometer, tachometer, fuel level, and engine temperature. The satin silver center console stands out, and there you can find the vents, heating and AC controls, audio system, mirror adjusters, and window switches. And the standard audio system comes with 240 watt amplifier and 6 speakers. The coupe has 7.6 cubic feet of cargo space, or about 215 liters, and for a 2-seater there are also many other various storage spaces, like a big glove box, door mat pockets, net pockets behind the seats, and a storage compartment on the transmission tunnel. The Roadster has less space, 6.5 cubic feet or 184 liters with the top up, and the top can go down in 22 seconds. Both the coupe and Roadster have limited visibility from the rearview mirror, but they have large mirrors to compensate for that. Next up we'll look at performance. The base and limited models come with a Mercedes-Benz M112 3.2 liter V6 engine that made 215 horsepower and 229 pound-feet of torque. A 6-speed manual is standard, while a 5-speed automatic is optional, and both transmissions are sourced from Mercedes. On the 5-speed there's an auto stick mode where drivers can shift themselves, as well as summer and winter modes. And the 3.2 liter engine was manufactured at Daimler Chrysler's V-engine plant in Germany, but Chrysler added their own air intake and exhaust systems. The coupe has an electronically controlled top speed of 155 miles per hour, while the Roadster can do about 150. The base model coupe can do 0 to 60 in about 6.3 seconds, and the quarter mile in 14.5 seconds, while the Roadster is slower, doing those times in 7 seconds and 15.1 seconds respectively. Braking was also solid with 11.8-inch vented front and 10.9-inch solid rear rotors, stopping the car from 60 to 0 in 125 feet. And on the base and limited, the Crossfire came with 7-spoke satin silver aluminum staggered wheels, 18 by 7 inch up front with 225/40 tires, and 19 by 9 inch in the rear with 255/35 tires. The suspension is independent in the front, using double wishbones and having 155mm of wheel travel. And the rear is a 5-link suspension with coil springs and gas-filled shock absorbers with 180mm of wheel travel. The SRT6 models came with a supercharged version of the 3.2 liter V6 built by AMG. This engine packed a lot more power than the base model, with 330 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque, and these models could only be had with a 5-speed auto. The SRT6 has some pretty serious performance, doing 0 to 60 in 5 seconds and the quarter mile in 13.3 seconds. And the SRT6 could be had in either coupe or convertible, and they got various upgrades to the suspension, brakes, interior, and exterior. The springs were 50% stiffer in the front and 42% stiffer in the rear, with different rebound rates in the shocks. The brakes were bigger by 1.2 inches in the front and 0.9 inches in the back. As for the wheels, they were the same size as the other models, but had a classier 15-spoke design instead of 7, and came with the Michelin Pilot Sport PS2 tires. The front end was a bit more square with a revised bumper, and in the rear, instead of a retractable spoiler, the SRT6 got a questionable fixed wing. The interior added a 200 mph speedometer and Alcantara trim on the seats with the SRT6 logo. As for weight, the base coupe is about 3,061 pounds, while the convertible weighs just 80 pounds more, and the SRT6 is heavier, coming in at 3,220 pounds. The final thing I want to look at for the Crossfire is all the options. I'm not going to bore you by listing them all out, but they are on screen if you want to take a look. As for the paint, the Crossfire had 7 different options: classic yellow, aero blue, alabaster, black, blaze red, graphite metallic, and sapphire silver blue. After the 2008 model year, the Crossfire was discontinued, with the last car built on December 17, 2007. So that brings us to the next part of the video, looking at the reasoning for the cancellation and the flaws of the Chrysler. I've come up with 6 different reasons and/or flaws that refer to the car or Chrysler decisions, so let's have a look. The first reason is that the Crossfire sales never matched the anticipation for the car. That was probably due to the other reasons that I'll go over in a sec, but right from the concept, the press and public reaction was so good that Chrysler immediately put together a team to take the car to production. Chrysler had signed a 5-year contract with Karmann, the German service supplier, with the target of 20,000 sales each year in the US. And as you'll see, the US sales numbers never came close to that, peaking at just under 15,000 in 2004. Worldwide, the grand total was just over 76,000 for the 5 model years, and that wasn't good enough, so the car was cut. These next 2 reasons are going to be combined, since they are very interrelated with each other. The first is that the Crossfire had really low value and was priced far too high. Many people agreed that the Crossfire looked good, but that was all that was unique about it. We've been over prices earlier, so $30,000 to $35,000 would get you a weak base model with just 215 horsepower. At that price, it just isn't worth it, and there are many other luxurious and more powerful options within that range. The SRT6 had very solid performance, but that had a price tag starting between $45,000 to $50,000, and for that price range you could buy something else like a Corvette. Why was the Crossfire so expensive? That's my next reason: European expenses. The expense of manufacturing the Crossfire in Europe and then shipping it over to the US contributed to its high price tag and also lowered Chrysler's profits on the car. Daimler wanted to build the car in Germany using the out-of-date German engines and platform. Then Karmann was hired to build the cars, incurring additional unnecessary costs. Then the cars were shipped to US dealers to sell to American customers, resulting in those high price tags that were way too high for what you got. It was a nice car, but the bad pricing contributed to its death, and ironically you can see the end result now, as the Crossfire is one of the best used cars you can get for the price, but that wasn't the case when it was new. The next reason I have is that the Crossfire was built on a platform that was simply out of date. As I mentioned, the Mercedes R170 platform started being used for the SLK in 1996. By the time the Crossfire was released in 2004, the new SLK was already on the updated R171 platform, so right from the start this was an old platform even when the car was brand new. And by the last year of the Crossfire in 2008, it was using a 22-year-old platform. Daimler could be blamed for giving Chrysler a hand-me-down platform instead of allowing them to use a new engine and chassis to make their car ahead of its time instead of behind it. They probably didn't want Chrysler using the R171 platform either, since it would create more competition for Mercedes. So the Crossfire simply came to market as a refurbished first-gen SLK and never really did anything better than the newer models from the competition. Before Chrysler went bankrupt in 2009, they had restructuring plans in November of 2007. The whole US market was suffering from a falling demand for vehicles, and Chrysler's sales were down 3% in the first 9 months of 2007, and that was expected to continue. So Chrysler took action by cutting close to 10,000 jobs in 2008, which was 15% of their workforce, and laying off another 13,000 people. Part of the restructuring also included getting rid of the Dodge Magnum, Chrysler PT Cruiser Convertible, Chrysler Pacifica, and Chrysler Crossfire. And the last reason is just some odd decisions that didn't make the car any more appealing or easier to sell to Americans. Instead of a rack and pinion steering system, a recirculating ball system was used from the R170 platform, and this is something many drivers were not used to. If the steering doesn't feel well, many people just simply won't buy the car. The staggered wheels also made it annoying and expensive to replace tires for the common person. These tires cannot be rotated, so the rears are going to wear out quicker on the rear-wheel drive car, and overall there's a lot more confusion. You have to look for the same tire in different sizes, and this isn't a problem the general driver wants to worry about. And the dealer replacement tires were also very expensive. Another thing is that Chrysler dealers had to invest big money for special equipment, tools, and parts just to be able to sell and service the model, since they were literally importing it from Europe, which is just a ridiculous move by Daimler that added costs and headaches for Chrysler. So those are my reasons for the Crossfire getting cancelled. It was still a very cool car, especially the SRT6 being the only 6-cylinder from SRT, but it wasn't worth it, and I believe the car would have had a lot more success with a price range of $25,000 to $35,000 instead of the $30,000 to $50,000 range that it was in. So that's the end of this video, guys. Thanks for watching and hopefully you enjoyed it. What do you think about the Crossfire, and which car should I do next? Let me know in the comment section below. Make sure to like and subscribe for more Mopar content, and I'll see you in the next video.